fight. I mean, Mikey, congratulations. He wins another 135-pound title. He's the unified 135-pound champion. But the big story is what he wants to do next and where he wants to go next. And that's 147 pounds, and that's a fight with one of the biggest, baddest kids on the block, and that's Errol Spence Jr. Andre, what was your reaction when you first heard Mikey wants Errol Spence?
We're going to listen to a brief clip of this. It's 38 minutes long. Obviously, we can't watch it all, copyright. But if you want to watch it, it's a show that ESPN is producing twice a month. From my understanding, it's called In This Corner. This guy right here is Chris Mannix from Yahoo Sport, former WBO 140-pound champion Chris Algieri, Andre Rozier, who trains Sergey Derevchenko, and Danny Jacobs. Going to be interesting to see how that works out when they fight. And also, Richard Commey is in his camp. Keith Idec is from Boxing Scene. Please subscribe. This is TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. What we're talking about here is that if Mikey Garcia was to fight Errol Spence in December, he would have to vacate or be stripped of his IBF title that he won from Robert Easter on July the 28th. Remember, right now, as it stands, is August the 6th, 2018, 10:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mikey Garcia is the WBC and IBF 135-pound champion. He has talked about, I'm going to pull it up for you while you're listening to this. He has talked about moving up to 147 pounds to fight Errol Spence Jr. for his IBF 147-pound title. And it's looking like Showtime and the promoter of Mikey Garcia, and who will likely promote the event overall, Richard Schaefer, is looking to make the fight happen. It's looking like that it's not even in like the dream possibilities that they're negotiating. They're working on the date. And right now they have some political stuff they have to handle if that fight is to take place, because they got to figure out if the IBF will allow, which they likely won't. The IBF does not care about if you move up in weight. They don't, care about step aside agreements. You will get stripped. We've seen it. Carl Froch was being threatened before he retired. Tyson Fury lost his belt before he, went through his little coke binge and everything like that. Golovkin most recently lost his IBF title. They will strip you. One thing I like about the IBF is that they follow their rules. So Richard Commey has to get his title shot, and I'm wondering how they can finesse this. But listen to this. Let me go back a few more seconds.
Pounds, and that's a fight with one of the biggest, baddest kids on the block, and that's Errol Spence Jr. Andre, what was your reaction when you first heard Mikey wants Errol Spence?
Well, see, this is a double-edged sword for us. We have the number one IBF contender, Richard Commey. He trains in our camp, and we're looking for our mandatory to take place. Mickey is our mandatory now.
Mikey.
But we know he's looking for bigger things. I won't say better because we have the better athlete, but he's looking for bigger things. So with him saying that he wants Errol Spence, it's going to be somewhat of a quandary as it goes on. We need to know what's going to take place because the IBF informed us that we were going to have that mandatory regardless of who it might be, if Mickey decides to fight Richard or if Mickey decides to relinquish the title. Nonetheless, we will be fighting for the IBF title. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Mickey decides.
Mikey!
Chris, I should say. You're a guy that's jumped up in weight class before. This is two.
So they had to keep him, out of it because he no, I'm not trying to hear that. He's supposed to fight our fighter. Here, let's go. I can pull this over here. Pull this over, this one.
So we were prepared for that.
Wait, hold up.
You want to call that survival mode? Maybe good right hand.
Move too fast and take that challenge right now because, we're doing great at...
Robert
Garcia about that.
Robert Garcia does not like the idea of this fight at all. This is his trainer and brother right here. They do not like the idea of that fight. And that's what really, really has been sticking with me is that this fight is happening. The fact that the trainer, his brother is like, nah. Even his father is like, nah, we don't want you to take that fight. Try to go after Pacquiao. They're not even talking about Lomachenko, and I can understand, that fight can't happen unless it happens on ESPN. Top Rank just signed that new deal with ESPN. Lomachenko was not leaving ESPN for nobody, for nothing.
That also. Robert, I know that you've had, in past statements, had some misgivings about the prospect of Mikey going up to welterweight. Can you expound on that now that it seems though it's going to probably become a reality at the end of this year?
Look, we've always said that we shouldn't move too fast and take that challenge right now because, we're doing great at lightweight and even junior welterweight. But that's what Mikey wants, and we know that he does have the skills. He has the time to compete. It's not going to be easy. And Mikey said before, he loves those challenges, and this will probably be the first fight that he's ever had where he's going to be the underdog, and I think that's what's going to motivate him even more. That's why he's willing to take things. So I'm from now on, we're going to take the fight.
Just give it up for Robert Easter.
Listen, the fight's happening. You can go watch this on the Showtime page. And as I said, to continue watching this, you have to watch it on
Going up there to fight
ESPN Plus.
He's going up to fight a puncher, a guy that goes to the body extremely well. What did you think of it?
It initially was very ridiculous for me to hear that. Like, jump up 2 weight classes to fight, like you said, not just any welterweight. He's fighting one of the bigger welterweights in the world, one of the most dominant guys in the weight class. But when I kind of thought more about it, it's kind of a no-lose situation for Mikey. He goes up 2 weight classes, and he loses. He's supposed to lose. He goes up 2 weight classes. He wins some rounds, does well. His stock goes up. He goes right back down to 140.
Yeah, perfect point. And right now, looking at the layout of the division, let's say, for example, if Mikey Garcia stays at 135, he has, and the Errol Spence fight does not happen. We're going to talk about what's possibly next for Errol Spence in a whole nother video. He has to fight Richard Commey, but then in order to unify and to become undisputed, he's going to have to contend with either Ray Beltran versus Jose Pedraza winner, which is going to happen on August the 25th in just a few weeks, by the way, and Lomachenko, who's slated to come back to fight this winner. So Lomachenko, in my opinion, beats Beltran and Pedraza, whoever wins that fight, in December. And he'll have the WBA and the WBO. Mikey Garcia will have the WBC and the IBF because he beats Richard Commey if he stays. But if he goes up to 147, he loses this IBF. Richard Commey, I don't know who they would have him fight for that title because looking at the rankings, it's really nothing there. In my opinion, Sergey Limpinets needs to go back down to 140 pounds. In my opinion. He doesn't need to be at 100. And, you got Devin Haney down there, but I don't think he's ready for a title shot yet. And Mario Barrios, I would entertain Richard Commey versus Mario Barrios for that title. I'm sure they would probably try to get him into that position. But you got Yvonne Mendy versus Luke Campbell. That can be announced any day now for the mandatory for the WBC 135-pound title that Garcia has. That's likely going to be on the undercard of Joshua versus Povetkin, September the 22nd. And then we don't know if Linares is still going to be staying at 130 pounds or not. 135 pounds or not. So, like Chris Algieri said, and I think it's any hardcore boxing fans or media member can look at it that way and say, well, listen, it's no way Mikey can lose because people are going to say if he wins, it's like, oh shit. Even if he puts on the good fight, people are going to be like, oh shit, he can beat majority of these people at 147 pounds. If he loses, people are going to say he should have never been at that weight. Now, I do feel looking at it, let's say looking at it, if the fight does happen, who has the better boxing skills? Overall, you would think that Mikey Garcia, fundamentals, punch variety. Errol Spence is more powerful. Errol Spence got a lot of shit in his bag that we're still seeing. But nonetheless, I think that Errol Spence beats him, my personal opinion. I think that, will Mikey Chin hold up? If it does happen, it's looking like it's going to happen in December because Showtime or Frank Warren has confirmed that Wilder versus Fury, if all goes to plan, which is going to be announced in the next few weeks or so, if all goes to plan, Wilder versus officially announced. If all goes to plan, Wilder versus Fury would be in November, like November the 10th, I believe. And then, Mikey Garcia versus either Commey or Errol Spence is going to be in December. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. If you want to see this full interview, and it's literally all about Mikey Garcia for the most part. It's on ESPN Plus, which is only $5 a month. Please subscribe.